So comfortable here. Yep. I'll be speaking. I'm going to be speaking to Fred Martin. He's in Cambodia. He has some issues and he made some contacts. My friends out there. He's called. He's written to the president and vice president. That's been acknowledged in a sense, and also to the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, and also United States Attorney General. And from there was the VA, IGO, Department of Justice, Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division. Did he get an answer from it? Well, all I can tell you is that what you hear tonight, those contacts, they were positive. Veterans never say you can't make a contact. It takes a lot of work. Okay, you can do it if you wanna. It takes a lot of research and getting these phone numbers. He did get a response from the Secretary of Veterans Affairs that a senior person in management will be contacting him, or at least we'll get back to him. Okay, so I'm going to let you hear from Fred Martin. He's in Cambodia, a veteran, a medic, and you can't take that name away from him and label it Superman, because the medics are Superman. That's what saved my life in 1966. So with that, I'll give you Fred Martin in Cambodia. Fred, give your name, your rank, and also your phone and email for a contact if they want to talk to you.
Yes, my name is Frederick Martin. I am a clinical specialist and combat medic trained, also a recipient of the Open Palm Humanitarian Service Medal as a medic. And my phone number is 1-585-213-5974. Again, 585-213-5974. And my direct email address is medicman2020@gmail.com. That's medicman2020@gmail.com. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a very long-standing problem in the VA. It's systemic racism, retaliation, and discrimination. And before I talk about my specific case, I have 3 research papers done on the matter, and a couple of news articles that I want to comment on. And it speaks on, inside the VA's longstanding racism problem, and that was published by newrepublic.com. And it deals with a lot of issues that are prevalent, and have been prevalent for many, many, many years concerning, minority veterans, especially Black. And let me start off by reading a little bit, from this article. It said, the last straw for many Black employees and veterans at the Kansas City Veterans Affairs Hospital was its Juneteenth celebration to commemorate the date in 1865 when the word of emancipation reached the slaves in Texas. So a manager at this facility sent several Black subordinates an email informing them that one was slated to play George Floyd, the man who was deaf at the hands of the Minneapolis police on May 25th, spurred a big outcry across the nation and world. But, according to one of the bemused employees, they changed from Floyd's character and replaced it with Emmett Till. 3 days before, that email leaked to reporters, roughly a dozen protesters had demonstrated outside of this Kansas City VA with signs reading "Black VA employees and veterans matter," and "We can no longer be silent." One woman present alleged that she'd been fired by the hospital's white director, David Isaacs, for speaking out against discrimination. This is not unusual. When you speak to power, and when you speak to the VA, administration, they squash you like a bug immediately. I mean, you can tell them about something that's going on, and instead of researching the incident you're speaking on, they attack you directly. And this is something that has been ongoing for many, many years. Eventually, I'll get to my case, and then we'll, where you can see exactly, what I've been going through. But it says that after this incident at the hospital, it was a culmination of 3 months of calls among Black VA employees and veterans, as well as religious leaders and officials in the local NAACP chapter for an outside investigation into the hospital's culture, which they've seen as being openly and unrepentantly racist for years. The list alleged misdeeds against Black veteran patients, employees over this period, and it include white staff cracking lynching jokes and dropping racial slurs, including monkey and the N-word. It says here that the chief of services referred to one lady as Aunt Jemima, a popular pancake brand that depicted a slave as its marketing lead. It says nearly every American institution, public or private, large or small, has been affected by racism. But the VA was supposed to be different. Though it was not officially established until 1930, its founding principles were first articulated by President Abraham Lincoln in his second inaugural address. As the Civil War was nearing its conclusion, Lincoln pledged to rebuild America and reconcile its citizenry, including an oath to care for him who have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan. Among those who just been spit out of the Civil War grinder, still the bloodiest conflict in American history, were roughly 180,000 Black Union veterans. In an extraordinary move for the time, Black veterans who served were made eligible for health care and pension programs enshrined after the war. But subsequent wars and new veteran benefit schemes like the post-war World War II GI Bill gave enlisted Black Americans credentials to compete for jobs that would ultimately lead into, the middle class. And one of those veterans is a singer and civil rights activist, Harry Belafonte. He once said that, VA employment is, appears to have been a boon for minority integration in the U.S. economy. And it said, as of 2015, the department had hired Black men and women at roughly twice the rate of other federal workforces. Yet this blood oath is far less equitable for minority veterans and caregivers than publicly advertised. Despite progress in recent years, the VA has historically suffered from sustained and significant racial inequities, not just in its delivery of benefits and healthcare to veterans, but in its treatment of its own workforce. Allegations over overt racism today proliferate across the department, from Minnesota to Missouri, and even inside Washington, VA. The VA hasn't released a comprehensive statistic in its behavior, but a survey that was released in spring this year showed that 54% of psychologists in training at the West Coast VA facility reported experiencing racism on the job. Similar allegations of discriminatory personnel practice have popped up at other facilities and have racist online posts by employees and excessive force incidents within the department's in-house police force. This is something that, to put it mildly, is such a rampant situation where, we have to really, really try to reel in, what's how to enforce laws, because they just are so egregious in doing whatever they want to you. And without, I had one guy tell me that you can't do anything for me. I have immunity as a federal employee, after he had, after they had just broken federal law. So I researched that and I found out that employees do have immunity from prosecution. However, the sub caveat to that sentence is unless they breached, federal law or the United States Constitution, which in many times in what they do to veterans is in actuality what's happening. Because once you do something against the law or egregious to a disabled person, it is considered in law to be particularly pernicious and heinous. It's like taking candy from a baby. When you abuse a disabled person, I mean, you are the lowest of the low. And these people have no conscience in doing so. So I'm going to read a little bit from a study. Hold on. Hold on here.
Martin, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Once you read the little portion there,
Mhm.
I would like to let the folks know what's happened to you and where we're going.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
That's
For sure.
very, very important because what you just read there leads to all of that. So I would appreciate that.
Okay. Well, we can do that right now. I mean, in my personal experience with the VA, in 1993, I was assaulted by a nurse, in the Miami, Florida VA at the time. It was 1993. He was a homosexual nurse, and I reported the incident. And little did I know that this gentleman threw parties for all the doctors, and I overheard the doctors in a staff meeting on ward one day say that, oh, since I wrote the guy up, that I was a smart ass and that they would mix my records up and I'll never, get my benefits, chuckle, chuckle. So I did not fight with the doctors or even deal with them at all. I overheard it, and what I did was I wrote Congress. I wrote a sitting congressman at the time. So that letter is in my record, in my permanent record for the VA. And I told him that, I had overheard this and, such and such. But they went on to deny my benefits, continuously for many years. Subsequently, I had another investigation started by Congressman Christopher Cox. And in his investigation, he found that it was giant swaths of information mixed with another veteran that had a similar name to mine. My name is Frederick L. Martin. This veteran's name was Frederick J. Martin. So in that discovery, it should have at the time triggered all of my previous decisions to be reversed because it was obvious they were not, escultating my records. However, it was not done, and it's probably, I can only say it's because of the color of my skin. It's obvious that they made the most egregious, mistake, but they refused to correct it. So some years went on, and I decided that I would go at them again, because I should have been rated in 1993 at 100%. I was in there for PTSD, and it's in my medical records. I was really sick, and they kept me in the VA for 7 months. But I ended up, getting, I guess racially, cornholed here because it's it was a white nurse that did it, and it was their friend. You know what I mean? So even when I tried to correct it in after 2007, I went directly and I talked to the director in the region in LA, Los Angeles, California. His name was Robert McKendry. And, I told him what had happened and what transpired and this and that. And I had a compensation and pension physical schedule for evaluation for post-traumatic stress disorder. Mind you, I have 5 letters from people who served with me in service telling the VA that I was treated in service psychologically. Still, it would not service connect me. And I'm a medic, most people see a lot of bad things, but the medic sees it every day. You know what I mean? We're at the tip of the spear when it comes to, dealing with, emergencies. So this gentleman took it upon himself to write a letter to my compensation and pension doctor and request that she not connect my depression with PTSD because it would trigger a back payment to 1993 when I first filed for this condition. And so he broke several federal laws and abuse of power, abuse of office. But what's more egregious than that is, I wrote him a letter personally, just let him know I knew what happened. I was hoping that he would have corrected himself. He would just, gave me another physical or just granted my benefit. But none of that happened. It got worse. It got worse. So bad that I left the country. I went to the Philippines, the only other place in the world where there's a Department of Veterans Affairs, off of United States soil. And I thought I may have a better, a better go at it there, right? So when I entered the Philippines, in protection, for this regional manager, the regional people over there, they denied me medical care for my service-connected injuries for 6 months. And this is as a medic, I just can't see people doing, to a human being what these people did to me. I was once in a hospital in the Philippines, in Clark, the Medical City Hospital in Angeles City, and I had gotten injured. My service-connected knee went out. I fell and hit my head. So it took 5 days for them to send me authorization to go to the hospital. When I got there, my blood pressure was like 280 over 140. My pain threshold was just off the roof, right? And they put me in the hospital. So I get a call from the regional office. The lady's name was Miss Vicki Randall at the time. And she told me to get up out of the bed, discharge myself because the VA wasn't going to pay my bill. This is the first time in 40 years of medicine, Jesus, that I have ever seen an administrator cross the line into the medical profession, right? And tell you to go against your doctor's wishes because they're not paying the bill. See, this is how brazen these people are. It's just ridiculous, man. I don't, I have no words to describe this type of person.
You remember the person that said this to you?
Yeah, her name was, she was the head of the clinical side of the VA regional office in Manila. Her name was Vicki Randall. And, when I first got there, I informed the regional director that was in power at the time over the entire region, who I was and, what I was going through. She had assigned me a point person to speak with, right? So I have an email history of everything I'm telling you. So there's nothing, there's nothing that I can't prove. And, I sent those facts among many, many others, to the president, the vice president, and the United States Attorney General and the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. But what makes it so bad is this same guy that wrote this letter on me, Robert McKendrick, he was on the floor of the United States Congress answering a question on why he was given a raise when there was a hiring freeze, in the federal government. Well, they found a law, a way to soft shoe around that issue. However, a congressperson said to him, he said, Mr. McKendrick, it was brought to our attention by a whistleblower that you willfully destroy veterans' records, claim files. See, the reason they do these things to us is because they get a bonus for bringing in their previous year's budget lower. You know what I mean? And
Well
these
understood.
bonuses, yeah, these bonuses are not small. They can be up to $250,000 a year, but anyway, it's it's something that in effect has destroyed my family and myself. I mean, my children, which I have 10, my children should have all had, free education, free health benefits, and, they should have a different shot at life. But systemic racism and prejudice and retaliation, changed the trajectory of their lives. This is most bad about. I mean, you know, I could take it on the chin, whatever you do to me. But when you destroy the lives of my children, that's a whole different animal, you know, and that cannot be forgiven, you know. And so here I sit, and you know, all these years later, it's been 29 years that this has been going on. And I've been trying to correct things. I mean, I have them do things like, you know, once my knee gave out and I fell down the stairs, my right knee, service connected knee gave out and I fell down the stairs and I had to have another spine surgery, a second spine surgery. You know, they denied my benefit, even though it was obvious that my service connected knee gave out and it was what caused my injury. And it should have been a secondary injury, you know, to my service connected injury. They denied my claim. When the VA has a duty to assist you, you know, when you don't know something that when the VA knows something that the veteran doesn't know, federal law says they have a duty to assist us. And he just totally breached that duty, you know, just denied my claim and, you know, sent me on packing, you know. And I just don't see how, you know, all of these things are people breaking federal law against a disabled person. Do you
Fred,
know to this?
I want to interrupt you. There's a certain piece in here that really burns me up.
Huh?
The part that you was trying to, you was in a wheelchair and you was telling me that story. I would appreciate if you can tell part of that story.
Oh yeah.
Trying to climb up that ramp.
Yeah, I am a medic and I do know medical regulation. And you know, due to my injury, I became morbidly obese. I was close to 400 pounds at one time, but you know, I would fall all the time, and I fell and I fractured the tip of my femur once. So the VA put me in a wheelchair, but they gave me a push rim wheelchair, which is basically against regulation. When you're a morbidly obese a person, a push rim wheelchair could actually do more damage than good, because when you have to go up inclines, it multiplies the biomechanical stress on your body 3 times. So that means that you know, if you're 350 pounds, now you're pushing 1,000 pounds with your fingers, you know, with your hands going up this grade. That's why chairs are equipped with this thing called keepers, so that when we push forward, it'll lock you in place. So you know, because it's almost impossible to hold yourself, in, you know, 1,000 pounds, right? So I popped my thumb tendon, had it injured, and I had to have surgery to repair it. And they put me back in the same chair. I went to the Power Mobility Board 5 times at the VA Long Beach. No veteran has ever been before that board 5 times. That means that a medical doctor, which my doctor, Dr. Guru at the time, had worked for the VA 45 years. This man wrote 5 consults. He was adamant about me getting power mobility. But the reason I didn't get power mobility is because this VA set up an erroneous wheelchair board that you had to go to, you know, to get a wheelchair. Normally a doctor write an order, you go to distribution of prosthesis or whatever, they train you how to use the appliance and you get it. But these people created this board, so and it's erroneous because they have prosthetic people on the board when a wheelchair is not a prosthesis, it's not connected to your body. It's a durable medical good, right? And the regulation says a few things. One, if the veteran lives in a place, which I did live in this type of place, I live at the top of a mountain in Studio City in LA, right? If he lives in a place where he cannot negotiate his surroundings, he can't go to the store, he can't, you know, go to medical treatment, he can't do things because of his location, then he has to get power mobility. I lived at the top of a hill that I could not negotiate, you know, in a wheelchair, you know, so they wouldn't give it to me. So I went through this 5 times, Gene, and then eventually the executive officer in our hospital changed. And it happened to be the guy that wrote the power mobility regulation for the VA. I went to see him and I told him what had happened. In 5 minutes, he wrote an order himself for me to get power mobility. But this was after I had written Congress and told them about how, you know, this medical system needs to have some racial sensitivity training, because as a medic, I would be in the room with doctors. And it would be a white guy come in with low back pain. He would give this guy opiates. The black strapping strong guy would come in after the same same condition. He would give this guy ibuprofen. You see, so it's sociological and racial, things that are pre-programmed into people through their life experience that carries over into the healthcare system.
Mhm.
And I know, so I asked that these people be trained or something, be done. But now I've had both shoulders reconstructed, a thumb surgery, and I'm service connected for injuries I didn't even have. And I have to live with this pain for the rest of my life daily. And these people, these people just don't care. My
But
God.
most of all, Fred, you found out the quantity of chairs that they purchased that was what?
Yeah, I found out through a friend, John Hall, that he was a tinkerer. He used to repair motorcycles and stuff. So he had gotten a new chair, and the control arm wasn't working. So he just said, rather than go to the VA and stand in line with wheelchair services and all that stuff, he'll just order the part and attach it himself. So when he went to call to see, if he can order the part from I think it was Quickie, he was told that they would not sell him the part because the chair's serial number belonged to a lot of chairs that was made defective, and the VA bought them all and gave them to us, the patients, like they were brand new. And I remember hearing, 4 or 5 of my friends say how their new chair cut off. One guy, he went across the street to get something to eat, and was coming, no, he went to the drugstore. He was coming back, and his chair stopped in the middle of a 6-lane highway. I mean, just stopped. People had to get out of their car, come pick him up and the chair, and carry him to the side of the road because he had no legs. And this is what they do to us because they want to save budget. And that's killing all the veterans. That's just killing us. Because when you start getting squeezed medically, as a medic, I can look at their system. I've designed systems, Gene, and I sent them to the White House. I sent them for suicide intervention, PTSD, military sexual trauma. I received personal acknowledgement from the White House and a personal letter from the First Lady, Michelle Obama, asking me to join forces with her, to serve our veterans. But I couldn't do so because these guys just crushed me so bad. It just kept, I couldn't get the care I needed. You know what I mean? Which is a travesty, man. I've given care all my life, but I can't get the care I need.
What did the Department of Justice, the Civil Rights Division, do for you?
Nothing. When I sent my entire file with 53 pages of evidence to the DOJ during the Trump administration, they looked at it and they sent me a letter saying that I was a VA employee when it's obvious I was not. I was a VA employee. This is how they run you around in circles, Gene, right? I was a VA employee, and I needed to send I needed to go talk to the Veterans Affairs HR or whatever, EEOC or whatever it was, but that was just a way to, to fend me off and, not deal with my situation. Because if they deal with my situation, these people have committed federal crimes against a disabled person, 100% disabled person, right?
Right.
This is something that the law cannot ignore if it's brought to its attention. You see, it's all kind of things happen. Even the VA, even somehow I feel they got to my lawyers. I retained the J.S. Berry law firm. The first lawyer I had was great. He wrote an 8-page letter, stellar letter to the VA in my defense. But he was either let go or he went to another firm or something, and I received another lawyer. This lawyer told me to close a clear and unmistakable error claim, which can never be reopened for no reason once it is closed. And this guy McKendrick's, facts is connected to this file. So they were trying to make it go away. And he told me to give him a call and he'll show me how to refile it in a different way. And I'm like, wow, these people are just something else. Even the VA itself, they sent me a letter and told me to refile my claim as new and material evidence. So I said, okay. I talked to a sergeant, that was in the military with me, and he wrote a letter, and I opened it under new and material evidence. Never heard nothing back from them. Why? Because they didn't want to take care of the veterans and the veteran and his benefits or his family. What they wanted to do was free the white guy that screwed over me. See,
Well,
they wanted me to clear an unmistakable error claim.
Well, McKendrick is back in West LA, and he was just recently, you and I was speaking about this on CNN.
Yes.
See, they take they can them and then they ship them to a different place. They've done this so many times, But McKendrick is one of our focal points of why things in West LA it's not going to go right.
So, sir, let me tell you, man, I was in the vocational rehabilitation program. And once I started this, McKendrick I can't say he did it, but I can say I was kicked out of my voc rehab program. And the best guy I've ever seen in voc rehab, his name is Henry Garcia, he works out of West LA. The guy is tremendous at his job. But I was kicked out, on my last class when Robert McKendrick took over that department. They moved him out of the regional claims and they put him over voc rehab for a time. So, being a priest and a medic, man, I'm a very humble person. You know what I mean? I try to fight the fight. I try to fight the fight, the way I can here. And it's pretty rough.
I find
there, Gene?
Yeah, I find what you're saying, to me, it's very, very important. And please, I apologize for interrupting you, but you clarified a lot of things to the folks that are looking at this. Fred Martin is talking about
For some reason,
let me
my mic is down. Hold on 1 minute.
Yeah.
Trying to hear here. Can you hear me, Gene?
I can hear loud and clear.
I can hear you, but faintly, very faintly. Hold on.
High-tech equipment happens to us all the time, but this is a very interesting person and issue that we're discussing. Can you hear me now?
Okay, Gene, let me plug in my old headphones here so we can continue, because I'm sure there's more in the menu. Okay, hold on, Gene. Okie dokie.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes,
okay. I can. Fred Martin is speaking about racial issues. Well, you know what? I think if we focus on what he's saying, why don't we just focus on what it's all about? It's all about all of us. When you just go after a certain color, religion, nationality, it's not good. If you're fighting for one, we tend to forget she's actually fighting for all of us. It doesn't matter if we're black and white. The thing of it is that through the issues that he's had in the VA, this issue sticks very closely to him because it happened to him. It didn't happen to you or me, but it happened to him. But let's focus that the words that is coming out of his mouth and his heart is about all of us. We can correct that, we got better. But he's telling you right now, and we've talked about it before on different shows, that it's very, very hard to reach into the Department of Veterans Affairs and walk in a straight line with them, because the rule of law doesn't serve us as much as it serves them. Go ahead, Fred.
Yes. So it's been since September, and we're now on April 1st, and I haven't heard anything from the Department of Justice. I did get an email directly from the Secretary of Veterans Affairs office that said he was sending my file to VA leadership, but I haven't heard anything from the Department of Justice. And you know, it's kind of sad because I provided them with all the evidence the first time I sent the file, and now they have it again. See, the president, President Biden, whether people like him or not, the first executive order he wrote when he got into office was the executive order on racial equity, which means that everybody has to be treated, treated the same by the government.
Right.
Whether you're black, white, and it also includes, people with disabilities.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because, these people, and every person that has read my file, if federal law was true, they're guilty of aiding and abetting, or what they call misprision of felony under federal law.
Say that again.
Misprision.
Say that again.
Everybody that has looked at my file and seen that a disabled person is complaining of a fraudulent event or being abused by another person and did nothing on that cause is guilty of misprision of felony or aiding and abetting. This is my case has been going on 29 years. This is the longest case of conspiracy to commit fraud I've ever seen. They just refuse to do the right thing because of the color of my skin. And they really, really hate you if you're black and intelligent.
Oh, of course.
I have all these claims, pending claims: high blood pressure, diabetes, chronic pain, there's somatic system disorder, sleep apnea. So these claims have been in the VA system almost 5 years. And I submitted the claims with a nexus letter, which means a letter from the doctor, and DBQs, which is disability questionnaires. The VA created this form, the disability questionnaires, so that raters wouldn't have to ask any subsequent questions once you send in your file, right?
Mhm.
So all of my claims went in like that, and they should have been able to be ruled on easily, quickly, but not me. It's been 5 years, and they haven't even, well, the one file they ruled on was a doctor that never seen me in the VA system said that I had high blood pressure because of genetic factors and my alcoholism, because he just generally thought that all Black people are alcoholics in my age group or whatever, probably, but from the sample he's seen. But I don't drink. I'm a priest. I don't drink at all. There is no evidence of me ever drinking in any chemistry I've taken at the VA in 30 years. This is something I don't do. You know what I mean? And he denied my claim on that guise that I was an alcoholic. And I told him that I wanted to have this. They haven't provided it either. I said I wanted to make a complaint against his physician license, because that's just ridiculous to say, deny someone their disability because you say they're an alcoholic and they don't even drink. Oh my God. And he went against two things in my record. One thing, I was in the hospital when I was telling you previously, when the lady called and told me to get out of the hospital. I was in the hospital 14 days on bed rest. My blood pressure 280/140, right? It took them 14 days to get my blood pressure down to like 160/90, right? And I was finally able to get discharged. But this is a situation where a person's laying down in a bed, right? No physical activity, and their blood pressure is still spiked like that. And they could find no cardiac problems, nothing like that. So the doctor said that, only thing they can think of is that my pain threshold is so high from all my orthopedic injuries that, it just causes my blood pressure to go up, because I have no heart problems or cardiac problems, per se. So this happened, for 14 days, right? And I was in the Philippines. Then I went to another doctor where I was in the hospital 5 months in Thailand. And that doctor did the same thing. They did a total workup, cardiac, no cardiac problems, but my blood pressure was still spiked. So he opined the same thing. It must be, pain or whatever, just causing anxiety and, causing your pressure to go up. So this doctor
went by both of those diagnoses, right? And DBQs and nexus letters, right? And said that he's going to deny me because I'm an alcoholic. I'm like, wow, the VA just plays a hard, dirty game.
Yeah.
It's so dirty. And I'm,
Fred.
I know many veterans.
Yeah. Fred, if you were to talk to somebody in Congress, and they gave you the opportunity to share your story, and if we knew that you could speak and the message would reach instead of just go in one ear and out the other, what would you say about the conditions of how the VA is running now? We got about 15 minutes, and what could be done for post-traumatic stress and also disability? As you know, I'm blind. I have no center vision, but I motivate as well as I can. Okay. So what would you say to the Department of Veterans Affairs to do what's got to be done right?
I would just say, man, just stop, crushing us on, the wheel of commerce. See, when you attach a budgeting, guideline to healthcare, you create situations like they did with the wheelchair, where these people are, listening to their management, give them instructions on save money, then they go out and buy all these defective chairs and give them to us like they're new. I mean, another thing that happens, like, so for example, a person has type 2 diabetes, right? In the old days, they would give you a monitor so you can check your blood sugar. But now the VA, to save money, said, oh, only people that are shooting insulin need to have these, devices. Well, how do you know where your blood sugar is if you're before that phase? How do you manage it? By not knowing where your glucose levels are. You know what I mean? It's like putting the horse before the cart. It's ridiculous, and they continue to do these things, man. I mean, just so much I've seen, and as a medic, you can't fool me. I know medicine. My mother was a public health nurse. The woman that adopted me was a public health nurse. I studied her books and, seen what she did for 40 years. You know what I mean? And this is just particularly, it's just so damaging to the human spirit, man.
It's enough to give you frustration and drive you to the cycle ward, which it has to some veterans that I know that are just falling apart because of this post-traumatic stress issue, and how the Department of Veterans Affairs has not acknowledged their issues because the budget that they don't want to use
from a
money.
clinical standpoint, Gene, from a clinical standpoint, the VA has such a population, it can't give definitive care. It has to practice what we call cattle call medicine, and because if you go, a psychiatrist would tell you, about 6 to 10 is probably the largest number for a group session in psychology, right? You would go to a PTSD group, it'd be 45, 50 people in this one giant room, right? And they're all, dealing with PTSD or pain management, whatever. There is no possible physical way that a doctor could have 2 or 3 of those sessions a day, right? Or a week, and effectively chart on every patient. It's physically impossible. So I watched one doctor one day. I was sitting in my wheelchair, and I came up, and then she had the door open to her office, and she was just sitting there. And I watched her copy and paste in each patient's record, because she has to write notes, right, in your record. But she would just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. No definitive care.
Was that while the session was going on?
No, this is after it, because they gotta account for,
okay,
you being there and your condition when you were there and all that kind of stuff. So they would just copy and paste everything, and because it's impossible to write definitive notes, real notes on every person. So I developed a questionnaire that they could ask, veterans, and certain things, certain questions where they would know if this veteran is triggered at the current time, right? And my programs, which I told you about, they were signed off on by 6 PhDs at the VA. The VA was like, man, this is brilliant, Martin, clinically brilliant. And he wrote endorsement letters. Military sexual trauma, PTSD guys, they all were like, man, this is pretty freaking fantastic. We wish you could do that here. But another problem with the VA is the VA will say, okay, we're going to go this direction. We're going to send all the doctors to training for this PTSD program, right? They'll go to the program, get trained. It's supposed to be last the next 2 years or whatever. They'll take the training, and 4 months later, somebody else comes in as director of this certain place, whatever, or VISN or whatever they have, and the program just goes away. They say, well, we're going to do it this way now, see? And it just doesn't gel. This guy McKendrick was over the real estate. He was purchasing real estate and doing all the little sub offices they have, sub clinics, and they wasn't even staffing the clinics, correctly. A veteran went into the clinic and there was no senior medical person there, and he died because it was only a LP in there, CNA or something. You know what I mean? And this is what happens. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars build this big brand new VA where they're not properly staffing the ones they already have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's a clinical mess. It really is. I mean, it's an impossible situation. And I'm gonna tell you, VA healthcare is some of the best in the freaking world.
Yeah.
Because in most cities, VAs are attached to teaching hospitals, medical hospitals, right? Medical schools.
Yeah.
So, we're the place where the young surgeons get to operate, right?
Mm-hmm.
But being in that situation, the administrators of those programs, those training programs, are the best doctors of the best, and so it's 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. Yeah, you get a rookie, operating on you, but you still get the best clinical mind and supervision. You know what I mean?
All right. Let's take this one more step here, because it's pretty almost time's almost up closely. But what congressional people that you have in mind that I can direct this to? I'm going to send it out there, but
well, I
who
mean,
do you want me to send this to?
I talked to a congresswoman. I communicate with her office via email. A lady named Ms. Giordadis was her assistant, but it was Congresswoman Katie Porter. But I haven't heard back from her, and also Senator Dave Min, who are the representatives, in my address area in California. But I didn't expect them to. This guy Robert McKendrick, he used to be the head of TSA out here, so he's a Washington insider. I didn't expect to hear nothing back from them. I'm Black, after all, right?
You say he's like a snake. Would you call him a snake?
I would call him a greedy person. He does what he has to do for money.
Yeah.
And I understand. I'm a priest, so I understand greed isn't. Is a spirit. It's inherent in many. It's one of the 7 deadly sins too. Greed is one of the 7 deadly sins. So, when you're up against this type of animal, there's nothing you can do. Even the IG, the Inspector General, when they looked at the San Diego office and the Oakland office, regional office in the VA, they said the Oakland office had 57% errors in the claims they processed, and San Diego wasn't much better. It was well over 50%, of the claims they processed had errors, right? Had errors in the claim, and they had adjudicated lower payments out for compensation than should have been, right? So they know it's there. They know it's being done. They know it's there. 50-something%, man. That's a lot of claims for a lot of veterans.
Do we have
like I was saying about
do we have proof that
McKendrick.
Yeah.
Like I
Now,
was
wait a
saying
minute.
about
Do we
Robert
have
McKendrick.
proof that McKendrick has seen these files destroyed?
Yes, when he was on the, when Robert McKendrick was on the floor of Congress and dealing with his other issue of getting paid around the order of the president on a federal hiring freeze, one of the congressmen said to him, Mr. McKendrick, it was brought to our attention by a whistleblower that you were willfully destroying veterans' claims files, right? You know, keeping them from getting benefits. And like, again, as I said, you know, these benefits count against their bonus, right? So they sent the VA Office of an Inspector General, sent a team down to his regional office, and they went in, and he had 3 bins in a row to be destroyed that day. In the first bin, next to be destroyed, was 13 files found that would have affected 16 veterans adversely. This was on the floor of Congress. Somebody told on you, you were identified, right? Somebody told on you, and they went in your office and they found 13 counts of what they accused you of doing. And you still kept your job. See, that's power. That's white power.
Yeah.
I mean, you sit on the floor of Congress now. I mean, I wrote, you know, the same thing I'm telling you. I wrote a 53-page report and I sent it to the Committee on Veterans Affairs.
Yeah.
Do you think I heard from them? Sending them some data on a Black veteran, you know, being, you know, crucified basically by the system. Oh,
And then
no.
they wonder why we scream racial issues. Yeah, that's the whole thing. They wonder why racial issue is screamed out when the proof is in the pudding.
They destroyed my children, Gene. My children. 29 years of it. They destroyed my children.
Fred, can you give your name and email again? We're getting ready to close up. Hope that who's ever watching this is going to understand that this is going to be distributed all over. If you can help, please contact Fred. If you're a representative, contact Fred. If you're the Department of Veterans Affairs, please contact Fred. If you're the U.S. United States Attorney General, contact Fred. If you're the Department of Justice, Civil Rights, contact Fred Martin. I'm asking you to. And President Biden, contact Fred Martin, please. You're going to receive this too. Hey, Fred, give your contact.
Yeah, my name is Frederick Martin. My phone number is 1-585-213-5974. Again, 1-585-213-5974. My email address is medicman2020@gmail.com. That's MEDICMAN2020 at gmail.com. I thank you so much, you know, to Firing for Effect, you know, to allow me to have this time to vent about these atrocities that are happening to our veterans. You know, Gene, I'm gonna tell you something, man. I'm a medic, right? My first time ever after training, you know, being able to push the meds and start the IVs and do everything myself, right? I was in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and it was snowing, right? And we went out to a guy who had had a stroke. It was an emergency call out to the surrounding, you know, city. And I went in the guy's house because the city had no hospital, so the Army would serve, you know, the community around the base. So I went and get this guy's house, and he's an old white guy. He's on the ground. I could see that, you know, his face was distorted. So I could see that he had, you know, one side was impaired by the stroke. So I'm doing his vital signs. And I look up and I see a picture of him in red Grand Dragon regalia, right? With the Ku Klux Klan, right? And now my NCOIC was with me. You know, he saw the picture, he looked at the guy, he looked at me, he looked back at the picture, he looked at the guy, and he didn't say nothing about the Klan. He said, Martin, are you a medic or not? I saved the guy, you know, I saved his life. And he ended up being a retired Army guy. and Sergeant Major, matter of fact. And he was rehabbed in our hospital for 90 days by Black medics. You know what I mean?
Well, hey,
So when he was discharged from the hospital, man, right? I was standing by the door in the emergency room, and he told the guy, you know, that he motioned for the guy to stop. And I was just leaning up against the wall. I saw him. He reached out his trembling hand and he shook my hand. You know, and that it touched me in a way, because I said maybe this
oh,
guy
of
had a
course,
change
of
of heart.
course. You know,
know,
Fred,
this
and
guy-
when we were in the military, we didn't know what was black, red, or green when we was in
No,
combat.
yeah.
All we knew that bullet was supposed to do what it's supposed to do. That's it.
Exactly, brother. There ain't no color lines in the military, but you know, it happens. In
Yep.
the military, hold on, while I was in the military, it was a cross burned on that same post I was telling you about. I was at Fort Sill. It was a cross burned on that post twice. In Fort Riley, my first sergeant got recorded calling all of us niggers and coons. And when I got down to my next duty station, I was court-martialed by a white officer that was racist. And when I went to my court-martial, I won because I proved he was a racist. This has happened in service. So, you know, it's just systemic, man. You know, we have to encounter people who just are prejudiced. Simple as that.
Okay, I got to wrap it up for tonight. I'm going to call you, and I want to talk some more to you because I have some ideas. You know, I don't walk on water. I don't say I can do everything, but I tell you what, I'll make some contacts and I'll work on this tomorrow. We're gonna get this to circulate this whole video, and it's important that people can understand it. It's about all of us today,
Yes,
not
it
just
is.
one person. Thank you so much, Fred, for coming aboard.
And thank you so much, Gene, for having me, man. And you know, I gotta say once again, I never met a Marine I didn't like. Semper Fi, brother.
Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
Not only like, but I love you.
Love, brother. That's right. That's right. Have a great one, man. God
You
bless.
too. God bless. Okay. That was a good one.